connections of Casa Creed are hoping that fourth time will be the charm for this fan favorite who's scheduled to contest the Breeders' Cup Mile in 2023. The son of Jimmy Creed comes into the race looking better than ever at age 7, and today we're going to be looking back at the career of this world traveler and multiple Grade 1 winner. Casa Creed made his first start in the Breeders' Cup in 2020, where he was a long shot in the Breeders' Cup Mile. He was winless in 4 prior starts that year, but had won Saratoga's National Museum of Racing Hall of Fame Stakes as a 3-year-old the prior August, running down Sambier to prevail by a nose on the wire. In 2020, though, he was undergoing a bit of a dry spell, starting the year with a third-place effort in allowance optional claiming race at Churchill, his first start in over 9 months, and then contesting the Wise Dan Stakes at the same track a month later, where he finished 7th, but was only beaten 2 1/4 lengths. He shipped to Saratoga and finished a closing 3rd in the 4-star Dave behind the front-running Holiday and the excellent filly Got Stormy, and had his final Breeders' Cup prep in the Shadwell Turf Mile at Keeneland, where he showed a new running style, setting the pace and then fading to 4th behind talented runners such as Ivar and Raging Bull. He went off at over 20-1 in his first Breeders' Cup attempt and only beat 2 horses home in the 2020 mile. Casa Creed began 2021 with a solid effort in the Grade 3 Tropical Park Stakes, beaten half a length by favored Ride a Comet. He then shipped west to Santa Anita for the Frank Kilroe Mile, where he finished 6th in a close finish behind Hit the Road and Smooth Like Straight. He dropped in class and cut back to 7 furlongs for his next start, the listed Elusive Quality Stakes at Belmont, and prevailed by a head over favored Front Run the Fed. He parlayed that victory into another, getting his first Grade 1 win in the 2021 Jaipur Stakes, going 6 furlongs, where he closed dramatically to win by open lengths over a field that included multiple graded stakes winner Bound for Nowhere and Got Stormy. He was entered for both the Troy and the 4-star Dave at Saratoga, but Belmont opted to stretch back out for the 4-star Dave, where Got Stormy turned the tables on him. Casa Creed came with his customary run, but could only manage 3rd. His connection shortened him back up for the Kentucky Downs Turf Sprint, where he closed from last but could only manage 5th, just ahead of Got Stormy and Front Run the Fed. He was entered in both the Mile and Turf Sprint in 2021, but gave preference to the Mile, where he finished 8th behind familiar foes such as Smooth Like Straight, Ivar, Raging Bull, and Got Stormy. Casa Creed then traveled to Saudi Arabia for the 1351 Turf Sprint, where he put in a gallant effort but fell just short of Songline, who is expected to contest this year's Breeders' Cup Mile. Following that promising run, Casa Creed stayed in the Middle East to contest the Alquaz Sprint at Meydan, where he finished 5th. He returned stateside and was seen a few months later in June, attempting to defend his title as reigning Jaipur champion. He traveled along the rail for most of the race, then shifted out just inside the 8th pole and gamely ran down Arrest Me Red and True Valor. He returned to Saratoga for his 3rd crack at the 4-star Dave, and this time emerged victorious, circling the field and outfinishing the odds-on favorite Regal Glory to win going away. As in 2020, he went from the 4-star Dave to Keeneland's Turf Mile, contesting a field that included 5 other Grade 1 winners, but it would be the 3-year-old Annapolis who got his first Grade 1 victory that day over Ivar and 2020 Breeders' Cup Mile winner Order of Australia. Casa Creed finished 5th. This time, his connections opted for the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, but the cutback in distance didn't improve his fortunes, and he finished a non-threatening 9th behind Carabelle. Casa Creed began this year in much the same fashion as last year, finishing 2nd to a Japanese racehorse in the 1351 Turf Sprint at the Saudi Cup. He was off until June and returned to Belmont to defend his Jaipur title, but he came up short behind defending Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint winner Carabelle, who was winning her 5th consecutive start in that race. He returned in the Kelso Stakes at Saratoga, where he stalked the pace before kicking clear and holding Annapolis at bay in the stretch. That duo would face off again a month later in the 4-star Dave, and although Annapolis got the jump on Casa Creed this time, Casa Creed kept coming and was able to run down his younger rival late in the stretch, becoming the 4th horse to win the prestigious Grade 1 event multiple times. Casa Creed will be sticking to the mile trip and coming into the Breeders' Cup fresher than in the past, having not started since the 4-star Dave on August 12th. He'll also be coming in off a win for the first time in his career, which could bode well for his fortunes to improve. He's going to have plenty of competition, though. Songline, who defeated him in the 1351 Turf Sprint last year, has won 2 Grade 1s in Tokyo this year and was just beaten a nose in her final prep for this race. Woodbine Mile winner Master of the Seas is another top contender who was also just beaten a nose in his most recent start, Keeneland's Turf Mile. Up to the Mark, who beat him in that day, is giving first preference to the turf. Aidan O'Brien has pre-entered Paddington in the mile. He was well beaten in his most recent start, but he started the year with 6 consecutive victories, including 4 Grade 1s. Then there's the 3-year-old filly Mauge. She hasn't been seen since winning the 1,000 Guineas in May, but she's coming into this race off of 3 consecutive victories, and Tahira, who she beat in the Guineas, has put together 3 straight Grade 1 wins since that defeat. Sherrill's Spite was second in this race last year and is coming off a second-place effort to Master of the Seas at Woodbine. And you have local hopes like Shoemaker Mile winner Exalted, who put together 4 straight wins on the turf and was just defeated by Bob Baffert's Du Jour in the Del Mar Mile. So clearly, it's not going to be an easy task for Casa Creed, but you have to root for a horse like this who's going strong at age 7 and trying the Breeders' Cup for the 4th consecutive year. Let me know what other Breeders' Cup storylines you're interested in this year, what other horses you're excited to see, whether as a fan or as a bettor. And until next time, thanks for watching.